So for those of you who don't know, my name's Simon Delatt. I'm a volunteer with East Anglian Air Ambulance. I'm not a pilot and I'm not a medic. I do teach CPR, and a very brief shout out for that. If anybody's got staff or anything like that, or people who work in your offices, we provide free CPR and use of defibrillator training. Okay, so just bear that in mind if you want to do that. So as I said, I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes. If you've got any questions, nice small audience, either pop your hand out or shout out. Everybody okay with that? Good, excellent. So a little bit about us. So most of you, I think, are around about Cambridge, so you'll probably know that we've got a helicopter base just down the road here at the airport. We also have one based up in Norwich, which is our headquarters. And I'll tell you a little bit about the area we cover over in a few minutes. So we started flying in 2001. Main reason then was it was a result of an accident actually at Newmarket. Has everybody heard of Frankie Dettori? Yeah, the jockey. He was flying to another horse racing meeting. There is an airstrip at Newmarket. Unfortunately, there was a crash. He was airlifted to hospital by a military helicopter. Long story short, that was one of the catalysts for founding the air ambulance back in East Anglia. You may notice our helicopters are yellow. We were originally sponsored by the AA and we've kept the colours. They don't sponsor us anymore, so I'm afraid if you have a breakdown on the A11, we're not going to come and rescue you. That's not what we're all about. So why are we needed? We tend to be called to the most life-threatening or life-changing injuries. A quarter of all our call-outs are cardiac arrests, which is when somebody's heart stops beating. I can talk more about that a bit later if people want me to. Thanks for turning that off. Second biggest call-out is to road traffic accidents, where we get called to horse riding, probably about once a week. There's an accident involving horses because of Newmarket. People tend to have nasty accidents with horses, people falling off things, all sorts of incidents like that. Two key facts really to take away from what we do are we bring the A&E to the patient. So all our helicopters, well, both our helicopters fly with a doctor who's more often than not a consultant and a paramedic, a critical care paramedic as well. And within the helicopters, we have all the kit that you would find in an A&E department. Worst case scenario, we can actually carry out surgery at the scene if need be, and we have done if we need to do that. The other key fact is we take people to the most appropriate hospital. Now, if you have an accident here, you're obviously most likely to be taken to Ambrooks. But if you suffer severe burns, there is a regional burns unit at Chelmsford. We fly people there. If somebody has cardiac arrest, let's say in North Norfolk, we're able to fly them to Packworth. We can get them into surgery in less than an hour, whereas taking them by road could take 2 or even 3 hours. We even fly children to Great Ormond Street. So it's about taking the A&E to the scene of the incident, and it's also about taking the patient to the most appropriate hospital for their needs. So how we're called out. Has anybody got any first-hand or second-hand experience with helicopters? Just so that you have. Do you want to share or what?
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago. My wife was looking after her horses with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the helicopter.
Okay, and was she airlifted to?
The end side was okay to go by ambulance.
Yeah. We don't always airlift people to hospital. More often than not, we'll either stabilise them, give them the appropriate treatment, the appropriate pain-killing, medicine or whatever it may be, and they may then go by road ambulance, but we also have the capability to fly them to Addenbrooke's, which is the regional trauma centre. So we would fly to Great Ormond Street or to the burns unit or whatever else may be required. So if you ring up 999 as ambulance, which obviously, in case you're talking about, We have paramedics based at the call centre who will scan calls, and they're looking for horse incident, somebody in an isolated area, major catastrophe, a road traffic accident, coronary cardiac arrest, or something like that. They will then task the helicopters. We don't decide when and where we fly. It's down to, in this case, the East England Ambulance Service, who will task us, or the gentleman you were there, the photographer there who works for Magpass, or the Magpass helicopter, or the Essex Air Ambulance. We're very fortunate. There are 5 helicopters covering our region. We have terrific coverage here. A little bit about our helicopters. Anybody a pilot here? I've done Cambridge. No? Right, I'm on safe ground. I have done it, and I've had pilots in the audience, so I can say what I like. H145s, they each weigh 4 tons, which is quite a lot, which means when they come into land, they displace 4 tons of air, so always stand clear of a helicopter coming into land. Fully night capable. So we now fly, and have done for quite a number of years, right through the night. Originally from Cambridge, but we now do it from our Norwich base. It just makes the whole thing a bit easier. Bit difficult to see inside there, but let me just explain. We only ever carry 1 patient at a time. It's always somebody on a stretcher. It's never walking wounded, and we only ever carry the patient unless we're taking a child. We do have a spare seat. We would carry a parent or guardian if appropriate. But anybody really from sort of teenager upwards will always fly with just the doctor, the paramedic, and the pilots, and they're always stretcherable. So we're really only taking the most critically ill or most critically injured. In there, we have the capability to take over somebody's breathing. We can put somebody into an induced coma. We even have a very nice bit of kit that will do mechanical CPR. Looks like a big sink plunger. It's not pretty, but it will carry on keeping somebody's heart beating, because we can't give CPR in the back of a helicopter because there isn't the room to stand. Has anybody seen our RRVs around Cambridge? No? Okay, you don't win anything if you have, but don't worry, keep your eyes open because they're based just down the road at Marshall's. So our RRVs, which are now Volvo XC90s, just say that in case there's any Volvo dealers in the audience, if you're always happy to receive anything. They're about as big as we can make them, and they carry the same kit as the helicopter, but obviously we can't carry patients. Why do we use them? We use them, so for example, if we were called here, it's not practical to send a helicopter half a mile down the road or into the centre of Cambridge unless we really have to. So the RRV is sometimes a more practical and a quicker option for us rather than dispatching a helicopter. And also sometimes the helicopters are grounded due to adverse weather or something like that. And the same is true in the centre of Norwich. So we might use the RRV in Norwich or the city centre because it's just more practical than the helicopter. They do go further out as well. What region do we cover? We cover 4 counties: Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridge, and Bedfordshire. As I said, we don't decide where we fly. So we do fly out of region. We certainly fly into Essex, Lincolnshire, we've flown into Northamptonshire, and we also at night fly into London because the London Air Ambulance, for technical reasons, doesn't have night capability. Okay, so we cover a very large region. That's got a population of about 3 million people. And if anybody asks you, that's 5,000 square miles. That's what 5,000 square miles looks like. So we've got a big population, but there are 5 helicopters that cover that area. And we attend approximately 1% of all 999 calls. So 99% are ambulance, 1% are helicopter responses. Specialist equipment. I'm going to talk money, which I haven't done so far. So at the top there, anybody remember the old Star Trek thing in sick bay with, remember that? Well, that's a mobile version of Bones's sick bay. It's called, in the top left, it's called Zoll Monitor. Completely portable. We can take it into the middle of a field, into somebody's house, into the middle of a street. It looks at blood, or it measures blood pressure, oxygen level. It's also a defibrillator as well, so we can restart somebody's heart with it. And the latest versions, we can send all those life sign readings to the helicopter before we've even got the patient in an ambulance or in the helicopter. We can send those on to the hospital so they know exactly the condition the patient is in long before they arrive. Each of those costs about £25,000 or £30,000. We have one on each helicopter, one in each car, which is 4, and at least one for training. And they need replacing every couple or 3 years. So you can start to see where the money goes. Top right is the machine, a thing called a Lucas machine, which is mechanical CPR, and it will push somebody's chest down by about 2.5 to 3.5 centimetres. That will keep them alive in the back of a helicopter. The other two very quickly are handheld scanner. Have you ever been to hospital and you've seen the big scanners? Well, we have ones that plug into your iPhone. So we can do a quick scan of somebody's body to see if there's internal bleeding, broken bones, or anything like that. And the final thing is called a laryngoscope, which allows us to insert a tube, not particularly good to talk about, into somebody's throat and into their windpipe, so we can take over their breathing. It's a very complex and very delicate operation. An ambulance crew are not able to do that. You need a doctor and a paramedic working together to do that. And we might do that if somebody's had cardiac arrest, severe trauma, blood loss, on which subject we now carry blood on our helicopters as well. Believe it or not, we're able to give a blood transfusion at the scene to somebody who's had catastrophic loss of blood as well. Short video. You should be able to hear.
That's it, yeah, go. I'm going to give the full 10 mils.
Severe hypoxia, though 40. Still breathing, but very hypoxic. There we go, we're not breathing now. When you're dealing with a really challenging time-critical case, my priority at that exact moment is to perform.
When you have your own children, you can absolutely relate to what other families and parents are going through. Good boy. Maybe that makes me a better paramedic.
There's no shame, I don't think, about saying that there are some jobs where you do give part of yourself away.
Scratching your arm, buddy.
I'll show you a real incident in a minute that was captured on video, okay? Somebody who suffered a freak accident, but I'll show you that in a minute. So that was taken from a BBC TV programme, Look East, or Anglia TV, whatever, BBC East, which focused on the life of our paramedics and doctors, okay? None of them are volunteers, and all of them, the paramedics are employed by the ambulance service and the doctors are employed by us. A lot of them are anaesthetists, because we often have to put people into an induced coma, or they're consultants in emergency medicine. They're the people, if you watch the television, things like 24 Hours in A&E, they're usually the doctors directing what's going on in an A&E, but they tend to like to fly with us as well, because it's much more exciting. As somebody said, what we do is one step down from battlefield medicine, and that's effectively what we're doing, just not being shot at while we do it. But with the sort of thing that we do, is effectively one step behind battlefield medicine. So, as I said, there's critical care paramedic, who are the most advanced paramedics, like Rod there. Play a little game with him later. He's worked for us for many years, and he also, believe it or not, is a lifeboat crew, as if he hasn't got enough to do in his life. He also works on a lifeboat. And 2 pilots, particularly because we fly at night, which is can be very risky and very challenging. Our helicopters have double crew, which is unusual. So total missions in 2023, so nearly 2,800, hopefully everybody can see that. 1,600 by helicopter, over 1,100 by car, and we treated some 1,900 patients. Sometimes we're called out, and we're either turned back for whatever reason, we don't treat the patient. So we have a higher number of call-outs than we do actual patients. But nearly 2,000 people, most of those in life-threatening situations, who, if they hadn't received the treatment that we're able to give, wouldn't be around today to tell the story. And you'll see a guy in a minute who will tell the story. Quarter of cardiac arrests, over 20% are car accidents. And as I said, we now carry blood. We carry one type of blood, one type of plasma, which is enough to keep somebody alive until we get them to hospital. Every 24 hours, we get a new blood supply. It's a bit like the milkman turning up. We get a motorbike. Has anybody seen the blood bikes? Yeah. Well, they're delivering blood to us. They come along, deliver us 4 pints, take away the empties, and that happens at 8 o'clock every night at our base. We get a new supply.
Money back for the empties.
We do, yeah. But there's a little, I'm not kidding, there's a little fridge in the wall which they open, take the old blood out, put the new blood in, and then we take it exactly like your milk. Exactly. Same principle. Right, Jonathan's story. Which of course won't be any good.
I went to Luger, rolled forward, and the spike basically went straight through. It was only when we got on scene that we established that Jonathan was actually still stuck on one of the ties.
The spike had gone in quite close to his spine at the back. It exited right through the front of his chest.
The ties had managed to miss all but 2 structures.
The odds of Jonathan surviving, I felt, were quite low.
I was just thinking all the time, I need to be strong here for Wembley and the girls.
It's like living your worst nightmare.
Had it not been the air ambulance team, the whole situation totally different.
For us as a family, our lives could have been dramatically changed. The girls could have lost their daddy, I could have lost my husband. I do often say to Jonathan, give it a second chance. So live your best life whilst you can.
If you want to see the full video, it's on our website, and it's about 6-7 minutes. But very briefly, what happened was, the low loaders, if it was in farming, that, will pick up a hay bale, there's 2 spikes on it. He forgot to put the handbrake on, walked in front of it, it rolled forward, went in his back and pinned him to the hay bale in front. It was all captured on video. It was all captured on the farmyard security video. So when we turned up, he's stuck on there. One of the issues, so that we were there, the fire service, the police, regular ambulance, we turned up. One of the issues was you can't get him off the spike. So what we had to do was cut the spike off. Now, of course, anybody who knows about these things, once you start cutting a metal spike, it creates heat and it would have cauterized through. But they managed to do that. We couldn't get him in the helicopter because he had a big spike sticking out of him. So they put him in a land ambulance. He went to Addenbrooke's. And 8 weeks later, he was back on the farm, right as rain. He was incredibly lucky. It missed all his vital organs. He's also one extremely tough guy. And if you look on the website, there's a picture of the surgeon standing there with a big smile holding the spike as they took it out. Very unfortunate accident, but shows the importance of the air ambulance and getting to somebody with specialist knowledge. We also offer an aftercare service. So has anybody heard of ketamine? Yep. Not the illegal ketamine. We often administer ketamine, which is an incredibly powerful painkiller. It has a side effect. It actually makes you forget. So what often happens if people have a severe trauma, afterwards they say, I forgot what happened. I can't remember anything. The last thing I remember was such and such. They don't remember the trauma. So what used to happen, we used to administer this and people would go to hospital, and that was the last we really saw of them because they were then treated. So we set up an aftercare team to do a number of things, to link up with the patients so that if they wanted to, they could come to the base, they could meet the pilots, they could meet the doctors, and they could, and along with their families, hear the story of what happened. But it also provides us with feedback as well, and that's very important. That's recent or expanded in the last few years, and we now provide emotional and practical support to patients. And I have to say, unfortunately, in some cases, we also provide bereavement support. Realistically, not everybody makes it. But for a lot of the patients, it's very important because they actually get to see the doctor or say, this happened, do you remember, you had this, or you came off your motorbike, or whatever else it may be. And it gives us valuable feedback as well. So it's all complete sort of wraparound care. We are a charity. Everything we do is funded by people like you. We receive no state funding, no funding from the NHS. Flying our helicopters, our cars, and paying salaries and everything is all from raising money. Anybody here in our lottery? Anybody? You can sign up on our... You are. How much have you won? Don't worry. No, that's fine. I've met a lady who won £9,000. When we rang her, she thought it was a wind-up. And I actually met a lady in Bury who won £1,000. So you never know.
Sign up at a supermarket.
Yeah. It raises about 40% of our income. Legacies, great way to give money to charity in your wills if you want to do that. Also raises a lot of money, and obviously events like this. So every time we fly, it costs us £3,750 on average to fly. So it's a very expensive operation. One more video, a little bit about how you could get involved.
We welcome opportunities to connect with people, businesses and groups across the region to support the communities we are proud to serve. The East Anglian Air Ambulance Trade Up Challenge is a super way for organisations to help save lives in their communities and engage their employees in a number of creative and fun ways.
We wanted to take part as it's a great local cause. Our staff were really engaged by the activities, which included bake and completing 10,000 steps every day for a month.
Last year's Trade Up winners raised £1,800, which went on to help save lives in our community. After the challenge, participants received a tour of the base and were able to learn more about EAAA's 24/7 life-saving operations and see the real impact of their money.
So that's if you feel, and I'm assuming you're all feeling very entrepreneurial, if you feel you can help us raise some money, come and talk to me, but talk to Christine, who is the key person for all of this. We will give you £100, and that's the catalyst to allow you to kickstart something within your business, your organisation, whatever it may be, and see how many times you can multiply it. And then you're also in competition with each other. Perhaps come back here in a month or 2 months' time. Starts in April. And then we can have a chat about how much money you've all raised. And every pound you help us raise, you know, when you see the helicopter fly over or when you see the RRV go through Cambridge, that you know you have helped save somebody's life. and that's critical. And I can't think of a better way to use your time and money. That was a very quick, slightly more than 20 minutes, very quick tour of what we can do. I can do the full 3-hour one if you want, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Christine can answer any questions about the Trader Challenge. It's very much her baby. Happy to answer any questions anybody might have, and thanks for being ever so patient as well. Anybody want to ask any questions about what we do? Yes?
With the increase in incidents, is it just the normal ratios of up, or are people being more stupid, or is it different type of factors?
Never underestimate people's stupidity. No. To give you an example, so for example, cardiac arrest, and let's be serious about this, what I'm about to tell you is not my opinion. I got this from an extremely experienced, a highly experienced doctor recently. It was 10 to 12 years ago. It was generally assumed if somebody suffered a cardiac arrest, there was very little point in dispatching a helicopter because the chance of survival wasn't very high. That has changed over the last few years. So the number of call-outs to cardiac arrests, mainly because people like me and other people go out and train people like you to give CPR. How many people have been trained to give CPR? Who knows how to do it? Yeah, okay. So I'm assuming the rest of you don't. How many of you have been trained to use a defibrillator? Yeah, okay, a bit fewer. Okay, so less than half. But we're on a mission, and we've already trained 25,000 people in East Anglia to give CPR and how to use a defibrillator. Things like that allow increase people's survivability chance from something like cardiac arrest. So we're getting called to many more incidents like that. Without bystander CPR, chance of surviving a cardiac arrest is at best 8%. So it's 92% fatal. But if somebody gives CPR, quality bystander CPR, and then uses a defibrillator, it multiplies the chance of survival greatly. So it's really critical. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. I don't think people are stupid. I don't think so. Right, any other questions anybody wants to ask? No?
I've got one more.
Yeah.
What happens to the old blood?
What happens to the old?
Yeah, when you take the old blood.
The old blood, well obviously if we've used it in a patient, that's fine. I think from memory, it's 2 units of blood and 2 units of plasma. I believe it can be reprocessed. I don't know the process. We only keep it for 24 hours because it's not, once it's on the helicopter, it's not fully chilled, and there are various technical reasons why we don't. But it goes back, I think, to Addenbrooke's, and I think to Peterborough is the other side, and it can be reprocessed. It's not, we don't tip it down the drain.
Yeah. I was expecting to say film sets.
You expected what?
Say film sets.
No, it's it is reused, but not by us. Any other questions anybody wants to ask? No? Yes?
Just one, what's the cost of the automated CPR machine? You mentioned the cost of the first item, the automated.
I don't know the
For
answer.
a big business, that's quite a useful product.
You mean the Lucas machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't. You can only use. I don't know the cost. I've got to be honest. I know the one of the Zoll monitor because it's a good one to talk about. The Lucas machine is going to be thousands, but not as much as the Zoll monitor. It is a very simple bit of kit. It straps over the stretcher. It's mechanical electric. And this is something I only found out recently. It not only compresses someone's chest, which is what you do if you're doing CPR, but there is also a suction element to it. So it actually pulls the chest back upwards. So, which obviously you wouldn't be doing in CPR, but it can only be used by trained medics. It can't be used by anybody who's not been trained. I can't use it. It can't be used by anybody who's not been trained. But what you do need to invest in though is a defibrillator. Otherwise known as AED. They're absolutely critical because anybody can use those. Even if you have no training. Better if you do, but anybody can use them. Good. Any other questions? Yes.
I think some of the defibrillators, they talk to you and tell you how to do it. So I would just say, even sometimes you see these defibrillators in town, to not be scared and use it, because they will tell you, I'll speak to you, how to use them.
A couple of things just over defibrillators. All of them talk to you. As soon as you open them up, they start talking in slightly more annoying and clearer tones than I do, and that you're under no illusion as to what to do. You can do no harm with them. You can't kill somebody with it. It will only shock somebody. It does two things. First of all, it will analyse somebody when you put the pads on them, and it will then say either shock advised or shock not advised. But it is automated. That's the key thing. So you can do no harm whatsoever. But what you can do is save somebody's life with it. And that's the critical thing. They all talk to you. So don't be afraid to use it. Good. Excellent. Good questions. Anybody else? No? Good. Thank you very much. Do ask any questions and do talk to us.